I actually grew up during the Marcos dictatorship. So I was really exposed to a lot of issues on human rights. So when I became a young lawyer, it was very natural for me to take on human rights cases pro bono on the side.
CenterLaw Philippines, led by Joel Butuyan and his team, defends marginalized groups and minorities pro bono, providing them with legal support in a region plagued by social and economic challenges.
We have all the model laws that are the envy of most Asian countries. We are signatories to treaties, international treaties on human rights. All things probably we're even more democratic on paper compared to some European countries. But the problem is in implementation. It's not really followed.
What happened during the past 8 years here in the Philippines?
The former president, Rodrigo Duterte, came to power. And right on day one of his presidency, the killings started.
So you filed some cases here in the Philippines?
Yes, actually, the case that we filed was dismissed. Our client, who was the one who was shot, was the one who was sued by the police. We had to go through full-blown trial for like 6 years.
Where is the problem?
The problem is,
how do you cope with this frustration that you must have, seeing all of this and experiencing like multiple episodes of prolonging stuff?
you always remind yourself that you have to make your country a better place out of helping someone.
How can we support you? So, Joel, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk with me about your work here in the Philippines. CenterLaw's Philippines, your human rights advocacy, and also your pro bono work for people that really suffer from human rights violations here in the Philippines and all across Asia. Maybe we could start with art. You have a lot of art here in your office, and this picture really struck me in the beginning. And maybe you can share with me a couple of words what this picture actually symbolizes and what how it could relate to our topic today.
Yeah, this painting is actually one of my favorites because it was done by one of my favorite artists. And second, the picture is actually representative of the kind of clients that we have at CenterLaw. This is a picture of a woman who is holding on to a picture of either her husband or son. And you can see that the woman has no mouth. So it's a voiceless woman. And the husband or the son is, the connotation is that he is a victim of an extrajudicial killing. That's why she has no mouth, she has no voice, she has no access to justice. And there's also an interesting figure behind a religious person. So depending on your background, it could be that the church is complicit in its silence to all that's happening in the country.
You have dedicated all your life to this cause. Can you share a bit about when this started? When did you start to, do advocacy? When did you start to help victims of human rights violations here in the Philippines to help them in front of courts? Did this start at university? Was it later on? How did you come about?
I actually grew up during the Marcos dictatorship. So I was really exposed to a lot of issues on human rights. I was a member of a young Protestant organization that's very active politically then, opposing the dictatorship. And then I went to a university that has a tradition of activism. And I was also exposed to a lot of human rights issues then. So when I became a young lawyer, it was very natural for me to take on human rights cases pro bono on the side while I was practicing privately to provide for my own needs.
And you did this with other fellows and co-students, and was there already an organization behind it?
Yes, we put up CenterLaw in 2003 informally, and then formally in 2004. And we started out representing journalists who were being sued for libel or defamation because they were being harassed by politicians or businessmen because of news coverage about corruption or government abuses or business abuses. So that's how we started. We started with journalists who were being persecuted.
Journalists.
Yes.
And then I heard this kind of the word spread, huh? So
Yeah.
that you are representing pro bono journalists. So it grew kind of naturally out of
Yes.
that, huh?
Yes. And there were only few lawyers actually who were doing pro bono work. So, you
Okay.
know, they would naturally come to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you could not only do pro bono work, you also had to live out of something.
Yes.
So you started your own law office as well.
Yes.
And so currently you're doing CenterLaw as well as your own law office for private clients. Huh?
Yes, that's right. We used to have separate office between our private law firm and CenterLaw when we were getting some grants in support of our public interest and pro bono cases. During the pandemic, we had to conflate both the law office and CenterLaw because we didn't have the funds anymore to
Yes.
pay separately the office.
Yeah, to reduce costs for office space. And,
Yes, office space and staff and filings. You saw the papers.
Yes.
We will in just one case we have like spent 47,000 pages since yesterday. We've been photocopying 47,000 pages because we're going to file in the Supreme Court on Monday. This is with respect to a client, 4 clients actually, who died, and 1 client who survived during the drug war of the previous administration, Rodrigo Duterte.
Maybe we start with really tapping into the issue here in the Philippines. So as far as I understand, the laws are there, the structure is there, but it's not executed or implemented in the right way, or there's a lack of resources or also willpower to actually pull this through. Is this a correct statement, or would you describe it differently?
Yeah, actually, if you read our laws, Philippine laws, we have all the model laws that are the envy of most Asian countries. We are signatories to treaties, international treaties on human rights. All things. Probably we're even more democratic on paper compared to some European countries. And when we go around Southeast Asia and East Asia, and we do capacity building, and we mention the kind of laws that we have, they're actually envious because we really have all the model laws. But the problem is in the implementation. It's not really followed. And despite, human rights and democracy, the police, the military, they do not actually, there's a tradition. Probably because of the previous experience with the dictatorship, there's really very little respect for the rights of the ordinary people.
From government agencies.
Yes.
So the human rights violations happen mainly from government agencies.
Yes, from government agencies.
Government agencies that somehow maybe not following the laws.
Yes.
They're disrespecting human rights
Yes.
of journalists, of other people that we will tap into. So what about the courts? Are they neutral? Are they doing what they should do? Are they objective? Or is that also a problem of jurisdiction?
The courts are relatively independent and relatively fair, although there are issues about corruption and pressures from the government. But the problem with our court is that it's a passive institution. If the police or the government or private individuals don't file cases, there are no human rights cases that would be decided by the courts. And that's what's happening. The police, they don't, they're supposed to submit documents to the courts. Witnesses are supposed to file cases, but witnesses and families of victims are afraid because it would be going against security forces, against the police and the military and government political leaders. So that's the problem. Even if you have a fair, competent court, and that's actually the defense that's being raised by Rodrigo Duterte, the former president. We have an independent court and all that, but the problem is there are no cases filed, so the courts cannot do anything.
So you mentioned the drug war.
Yes.
We tapped into journalists and now drug war. What happened during the past 8 years here in the Philippines?
The former president, Rodrigo Duterte, came to power. And right on day one of his presidency, the killings started. And it reached, by the estimates of human rights organizations, 30,000 killings total. So we had their version of the Holocaust. There were like 7,000 killings that were committed by police operatives. They admitted that they killed those persons, but their defense is that they were doing it in self-defense, which is actually, fabricated. But there were a lot of vigilante killings. These are masked assassins on board motorcycles who would just shot their targets point blank. But there are a lot of testimonies that before these assassins arrived, police operatives would go around the area and look at possible scenarios. So they kind of really set up the area for these assassins. Because of what happened, we started representing some of the victims. People then were really afraid. They didn't want to file any case. They didn't want to complain because it was really, really dangerous.
They were afraid, huh?
They were really afraid,
Yes.
yeah.
And they didn't have the means, huh?
They didn't have the
Oftentimes.
means, yes. We had clients who were brave enough, and we filed two cases actually that are very, they're unprecedented during the drug war. One case, the government actually conceded, they admitted that there was a violation because of the evidence. So they conceded that
So CCTV cameras,
there were no
videos.
CCTVs, but there was a person who was shot but who lived to tell the tale. And if the locations of the gunshots, they would show that they were assassinated really, because the entry points are higher than the exit points. So
Yes.
it was really from above, because they were made to sit.
And this
They were
person
shot.
survived.
Yes, this person survived. This is the case that we're going to file on Monday. Which is why you saw
it's
in
a
it.
lot of
Yes,
papers.
a lot of papers.
So you filed some cases here in the Philippines?
Yes, we filed some cases.
But nothing yet. I mean, we still have papers, and this is a couple of years ago.
Yes, nothing happened
So no
yet.
decision yet, huh?
No decision. Actually, the case that we filed was dismissed. That's why we're appealing to the Supreme Court. Our client, who was the one who was shot, was the one who was sued by the police. The police said that he was the one who directly assaulted the police. And he was sued, and we had to go through full-blown trial for like 6 years. But we had him acquitted only last year. So the case against him ran for 6 years, while the case that he filed against the police, it slept for like 6 years, and then suddenly it was dismissed.
So you had to first defend him.
Yes, we had to defend
And
him.
now you can
Yes,
you
no,
can make the case against the police.
yes,
Huh?
yes.
So where is the problem?
The problem is the evidence. The police, they actually have the scene of the crime reports. Okay, even the bullets, the location of the cartridges, practically all the evidence that were taken from the scene of the crime. They have those.
So the assassinations happened, and then the police came officially
Yes.
to make the
Yes.
report. Huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they did not do anything about
They
it.
did not search for the
Yes.
for the murderers, or they did not do, they just made a report and then that was it, huh?
Yes. Actually, with respect to this case, they admitted that they were the ones who shot our clients, but they did it in self-defense. That's always a defense of the police when the killings happen in their hands.
But in some cases, the police admitted that they did it purposefully, or there are some people that speak up now, huh? that admit that they have been instructed to kill somebody.
Yeah, but they're anonymous so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Probably in the ICC, there's harsh that there are police and assassins who actually already admitted.
So, summing up, here in the Philippines, it's really, really hard to actually pull through 10, 20,000 cases if you spend, 6 years on one case.
Yes.
How much more would you spend on many, many more thousands of cases that things like that happened?
Yes.
You just mentioned ICC, so there is another case pending.
Yes.
At the International Criminal Court.
Yes.
What is the International Criminal Court? There is another court as well, an International Court of Justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do they differentiate each other, and what is currently happening?
The International Criminal Court is actually a court that handles what's called crimes against humanity. They don't prosecute the foot soldiers or the persons who pull the triggers. They actually prosecute the masterminds of higher ups, generals, presidents, political leaders who order or who mastermind crimes against humanity. And the ICC prosecutes individuals. The Philippines was a member of the ICC until 2018. When it started investigating the Philippines, the previous president withdrew our membership from the ICC. But thankfully, the withdrawal is only prospective, so it doesn't cover the past crimes that were committed. That's why we still have this case. And we're representing 400. So far, at this stage, we're representing 400 victims. There are actually 4 Filipino lawyers who are licensed in the ICC, and 2 of them are actually part of CenterLaw. So we're very hopeful that we will be the ones who will be representing most of the victims when trial starts.
And who are you accusing?
We're accusing the former president, of course, the chief of the Philippine National Police, who is now a powerful senator. But there are other witnesses who are accusing even the daughter, the incumbent vice president now, because the killings cover even the killings that started when Duterte was a mayor in Davao in 2011. So the daughter is also a potential accused. And then another powerful senator who used to be the executive assistant of the Duterte. So these 4 powerful people, hopefully, are going to be issued warrants of arrest in the ICC.
This obviously needs a lot of preparation. So this is what you do, right?
Yes.
Since a couple of years now, you're preparing everything. You're filing paperwork, a lot of paperwork. What's the current status of this whole process? I heard that the ICC, the Philippine government, tried to
block it. Yes.
To block it.
Yes. Actually, the Philippine government tried to block the investigation of the ICC. They were saying that we have a functioning court, and the ICC can only come in if the courts don't function. But thankfully, the ICC ruled that that's not the issue. The issue is there's no prosecution going on against the masterminds. You can have a functioning court, but if no cases are filed in the courts, there's still failure on the part of the government to prosecute. And the complementary jurisdiction of the ICC kicks in, and they can still do prosecution in The Hague.
So currently, you are awaiting formal arrest warrant. Or what is the next step from the ICC? What would be the next?
What's called the Office of the Prosecutor, the OTP, is doing its investigation, preliminary investigation. when the prosecutor finds that there are enough cases to justify a trial, it will apply for a warrant of arrest against the persons that they identify are responsible for the killings that happened. So we're hopeful that the OTP will wrap up its investigation soon, and it will issue warrants of arrest, just like what it did with Vladimir Putin in Ukraine and the leaders of Hamas and Israel and Palestine.
Okay, so that will be the next step, huh? That
Yes, yes.
How do you cope with this frustration that you must have seeing all of this and experiencing like multiple episodes of just prolonging stuff of agencies, organizations that work against you constantly, repeatedly? How do you cope with that? Where do you get the strength to pull through like now decades of pro bono work like this?
We're not really immune to frustration. We get frustrated every year that their cases are delayed. But when you take on this kind of an advocacy, you kind of consider that these inconveniences, this injustice are there. And you just have to plod on, because the injustice that you saw, it's like an itch that you have to scratch, and you just have to go on. And you always remind yourself that you have to make your country a better place out of helping someone who is underprivileged or who is a victim of justice. It's different. It's different from the satisfaction that you get from accumulating fortunes and fame. Somehow, it gives you a feeling that cannot be equated to
Material things. Huh?
material things. Yeah,
Gives you purpose.
yeah, it gives you purpose. Yes.
It's really impressive that for me personally, it's really impressive that you pulled through for such a long time. That is something that especially our generation struggles with, right? Staying put and pulling something through. This is something that I think our generation is not used to anymore. Like that, some really highly valuable things take time, huh? And the cases that you represent, they take time and effort and resources and optimism. So thank you so much for the work that you do. Can you share with us quickly how can we support you, or how can we support the work that you do?
Right now, we kind of manage by supporting ourselves.
Through the office,
yes.
through the law office, yeah.
Yes, through the office. We spend for all the expenses, and we devote our time, our young lawyers' time. But if we are able to get support from grant organizations or other organizations, we can actually do more, because we don't have to worry for where do we get the money for rent and for the salaries of this staff. If we are able to get some help for the expenses that we have to deal with in our pro bono and in public interest cases, I think we can do more, and we want to do more actually, because there's so much, there's so many
much
things.
work. Yeah,
So much work.
Yeah.
Yes, and there are not too many people who are doing this kind of work actually in the Philippines.
And that is where CenterLaw's Switzerland comes into play, right?
Yes.
Our relationship and the foundation of this organization, this association in Switzerland, where we try to get funds that free you from doing the paid work, and hopefully give you in the future more time to do the pro bono work that is so important. Only a few will do the amount that you are doing at the moment, and we try to free you from this burden of constantly battling also with finances. Huh? So thank you so much for taking the time, giving me a visit into your office and sharing your thoughts and your about your work, showing me your art. And thank you so much for everything. And I wish you all the best, much blessings, and until soon.
Thank you so much, Marcus, for having an interest in looking into what the kind of work that we do, and in considering, tapping into your group of friends and network in Europe to extend help to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.